Hi, and welcome to the 8th edition of U.S. Open Morning Drive, presented by Mercedes-Benz. I'm Kevin. Kids like to call him M-Dub. We welcome you to the second week of action on this holiday, Labor Day, the unofficial last day of summer. Before we look at the schedule for today, let's tune back to last night and some interesting results in both the men's and women's draw. On the women's side, Angelique Kerber took care of the other top lefty in the game, Petra Kvitova, and in doing so, Kerber puts the squeeze on Serena Williams once again. Williams now has to reach at least the final to have any shot at holding on to that #1 ranking. And on the men's side, Novak Djokovic. Everyone wondered, would the real Novak please stand up? After limited play through the opening week, he finally completed a match against Kyle Edmund of Britain and looked good in doing so.
Well, I think Djokovic has been standing up the entire tournament, but everyone else has kind of been sitting down or walking off the court early. It was really nice to see him out there. I know all of New York loved to see him out there playing a complete match. Going into the rest of the tournament, you know what? He's going to be as fresh as anyone is in the tournament just because he hasn't played that much. You know, this is the first full match he's played, and I know he's excited to get through into the quarters.
Well, let's turn our attention towards the competition today for those last quarterfinal spots on a gusty day, thanks to Tropical Storm Hermine, that is causing winds to blow through the grounds here more rapid than we've seen this tournament. Dominic Thiem was a quarterfinalist at Roland Garros. He's looking for his second last 8 appearance in 2016, and standing in his way is the only wild card or qualifier remaining in men's or women's draws, Juan Martín del Potro.
And I think he's back. The tennis that he's playing in this championship, the tennis that he played down in Rio, receiving the silver medal, he is back. The forehand, the serve is back. But Dominic Thiem, the 23-year-old, 4 titles in 2016. If he really wants to be in that discussion of the great players that are out on tour and really be pushing to win those championships, these major championships, this is a match he's going to have to win. This is going to be one of the best matchups of the year. As well as Del Potro's playing, I think I'm actually going to give the edge to Thiem.
And Del Potro won this title back in 2009, 142 in the world, trying to become the lowest ranked player to reach the quarterfinals since Jimmy Connors did it when he was 174 in the world in 1991. Ilya Marchenko had lost 9 consecutive tour matches entering New York, and yet he finds himself in the 4th round, and he goes up against Stan Wawrinka, who had to save a match point in the previous round in order to book this contest.
I've been impressed with what Marchenko has been able to do in this championship, but he hasn't really been pushed. He's gotten through 2 matches against unseeded players, and the 1 seed that he has played in Kyrgios, he actually got a walkover after a couple of sets. So he's going to be pushed today against Wawrinka more than he has against anyone. And is there a sense of destiny now for Stan Wawrinka? Because he did save that match point against Daniel Evans, as you mentioned, and oftentimes that propels a player, and they get that feeling like, well, this might be my opportunity. If I can go to the edge, go to the brink like he did, and still win, maybe this is my tournament.
And for Wawrinka, he did turn his ankle in the second set of that 5-set win over Evans. We'll see if there's any residual effect as he takes the court today. Speaking of taking the court today, feeling better, it's a rejuvenated Grigor Dimitrov, who hasn't reached the quarterfinals at a major since he beat the reigning Wimbledon champion Andy Murray in 2014 at the All England Club. Now he goes up against Murray, who has been remarkable, another 4th round appearance for the Brit.
This might be the matchup, if you're going to watch one, this might be the matchup to watch. Dimitrov, I look at his game over the years, especially the last couple of years, he hasn't really lived up to the expectation. When he came onto the tour and started winning tournaments 2 years ago, there were a lot of comparisons to Roger Federer, but the pressure got to him. I think if he is able to win this match today against Andy Murray, he'll be back in that discussion and back into the top 10 eventually, where I think it should be. But for Andy Murray, with the exception of Djokovic, he's playing better on tour than anyone here in 2016. So it's not going to be an easy road for either one of them, but a great matchup.
How consistent has Murray been? This is his 23rd consecutive 4th round appearance at a major. Well, for Simona Halep of Romania, she's been on a tremendous run. Since Roland Garros, she's won 20 of her 22 matches, but she runs up against a very tricky Spaniard, a player she's faced numerous times before, Carlos Suarez Navarro.
This is always a good matchup for both players. They've split a lot of their matches over the years. Carlos Suarez Navarro, I have a lot of respect for her game and what she's able to do. There's only one problem in this matchup for her. Halep does that game better. They both move well around the court. Halep has more power. She's playing better right now. You just showed the statistic about how many consecutive matches she's won. If you want to pick, Halep in this match to move on.
Well, for Carlos Suarez Navarro, the one tip of the cap maybe for her is even though they split their previous 10 meetings, she's 2-0 against the Romanian at majors. And for the Czech Karolina Pliskova, it's uncharted territory. She's never reached the second week of a major before. She has now here in New York, and she takes on Venus Williams, who is playing in her 72nd major, 46th second week at a Grand Slam event.
It's amazing to see what Venus has done over the course of her career, especially at the majors. But even though she's the higher seed, I'm actually going to give the edge to Pliskova in this matchup right here. I think back to a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati when Pliskova beat Muguruza and Kerber in back-to-back matches, the number 2 and 3 players in the world, to win the title in Cincinnati. That's the type of tennis that she's playing right now. But for Venus Williams, is this one of the last best chances she has to get to the quarterfinals of a major? Will she be playing her sister in the semifinal? She doesn't, at her age, she doesn't have that many more opportunities. This might be one of the last ones.
And Venus has fond memories of her only previous meeting against Pliskova when she beat the Czech in China late in 2015. That match win propelled her back into the top 10 for the first time since 2011. Well, we've been asking you, tennis fan, for your questions to come in on Twitter and put the hashtag MBDrive. A viewer at Andy L. Kaplan wants to know, Mal, if you were in the draw today, who would you least like to face?
Well, at the beginning of the tournament, I said Juan Martín del Potro. You can just ask Novak Djokovic about what happened in Rio about that. But right now, I'm going to say Andy Murray. Andy Murray has been playing some great tennis late, and I really think he has his eye on that #1 spot. We know he can win Wimbledon. We know he can win majors. He's won the U.S. Open. The one thing he hasn't accomplished in his career is that #1 ranking at any point. I think this is it for him.
He's been on a tremendous run of late, winning 24 of his 25 matches since re-partnering with Ivan Lendl, and he's reached 7 consecutive finals, the only loss coming in the Cincinnati final to Cilic. Well, thank you, Andy, for your question. And again, tennis fan, we invite you to get into the conversation with Mal and with Todd. Send your queries to hashtag MBDrive, and we'll see if we can get them on our show. Well, that's going to do it for this edition, the 8th one of U.S. Open Morning Drive, presented by Mercedes-Benz. For Mal, I'm Kevin. We'll see you again from New York.